My point is this, people. We are at war in the United States of America and the Americas in general. I've been blessed to be able to travel the Caribbean, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, all the little different islands, and the Africans are marooned there. Limited resources, subjugated by the same oppressors, just in the economic and spiritual form, through the form of religion. Through the form of economic deprivation, very strategic, subversive warfare. But now, the war is more symbolic. So when we see these shootings of black men in America and abroad, in the UK or wherever, I know it's going on in Brazil by numbers that are just obscene, shooting at people straight out of helicopters. And I'm sure this is the same in, wherever there's black people. And trust me, there are black people in every corner, in every crevice that you don't think black people are. This is true. In Mexico, Belize is a black country with a black man on their flag. We're talking about reparations. We should be building up black nations. Just choose a black nation and we can be building up black nations. We got billionaires. We got multi-millionaires just spending their money on gold and stupid cars, buying their kids Bugatti trucks and stuff at 18, man. Come on, man. Buy them land. Buy them a gold mine, land with a gold mine on it, so that they can employ the people in the local neighborhood to mine the gold, so that they can take that gold and then export it to people who actually want to back their currency by something. They print money like baking cakes, literally feeding us breadcrumbs. And these are the metaphors that Christ is trying to spit to us, but we ain't even paying no attention because we're under the spell of religion. We have to read for ourselves. Genesis 11 is not about a king, Nimrod, who was rebellious and bold and prideful, and God warned him not to build into the heavens, but he disobeyed and he kept building and kept building. That's a lie. And it just proves that the people that's teaching us are just part of the problem. The story is about a people who unified, began to speak one language, and said, let's come build ourselves a city with a tower whose top is in heaven. Like the pyramids, people. The pyramids of Giza. They were built in alignment with the heavens. The star constellation Sahu, which the Greeks turned to Orion. And in the Bible, it's Nimrod, the mighty hunter. The people unified. That was the problem in the story. It literally said the Lord came down and seen what the people had built and said, indeed, the people are one. And look what they began to do. Now, nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. So let us go down there and confound them. That means to shock, confuse, startle them. Yeah. So they went down there and they confused them. They scattered the people abroad. It said scattered 3 times. 3 times to make sure that you know that it is not a coincidence that the story is about a diaspora and not about a rebellious king who was cursed, and the people, God cursed the people, and they started speaking different languages. No, we speak different languages because some of us are conquered by the French, some of us are conquered by the English, some of us are conquered by the Spanish, some are conquered by the Portuguese and the Belgians and all of that in between. Not everybody, though. We can't pull all the white nations together as if it all was part of the same evil device against the native people of the planet Earth. All the melanated people, black, indigenous. As black as I am, I understand that I am also Native American. I am also African, and I also have European ancestors because I am American. We are hybrid. We are not like we were when we came up out of Africa. So when we go back to Africa, we can be more of a benefit to our roots. It becomes a win-win. A resurrection is a resurgence in which they fear. The greatest fear is our unity, because our unity is our resurrection, our resurgence, us restoring the continent of Africa, the black nations. And so as the comet draws near, that of the divine, that of the heavens draw near to earth. In duality, as trumpets, President Trump, whether you like him or not, you gotta always keep in mind that President Trump is gonna look out for his best interest and the best interest of his constituency, those who support him. So he speaks truth from their perspective. It may not be our truth. It may be distorted to us. But he has shown or demonstrated that whatever his beliefs are, he's willing to acknowledge and outreach to the black community. And this is the reason why he keeps saying, I've done more for the black community, because he knows that he's supported funding black colleges. They have pushed back on some of these laws that Biden and Clinton and the Democrats created to subversively put our behinds and make it hard as hell for us as black men. And if you think that Black Lives Matter is for black men, at this point, it's nothing to do but just to pray for you. We don't read, we don't research, and that's our problem. We persecute those who do in this country. Those who read and research are persecuted in this country. Right? You see this brick? They're locking us down. They're locking us down in this country because they don't want nobody to get out. Jordan Peele already told us to get out. And then the second movie, Us, is who's holding us back? It's us. Our ability to face our real selves, look towards the future, to actually truthfully walk in faith. Give a little faith. You can lead a man to the beach. You can lead a woman to the beach. But you can't make them cross the ocean. We on Mary time now. Mother of Jesus, Mary time. Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, piloted by the Nino brothers. They were black men from Africa, African men. More African history hidden in American history. Africans brought Cristoforo Colombo over here. And they changed his name to one of the brothers' name, Christos. It's crazy what's going on. Pedro. I think one was Alfonso. It's just look up the Nino brothers. It'll surprise you that most of American history has everything to do with African history. And this is the reason why African Americans are so valuable in Africa. We are your history and we are your future. Just like I told you about Genesis 11 at 11:11. Genesis 11 is about the diaspora, but they told us it's about the disobedient. If they were wrong about that, then we should question everything, even to Genesis. The kings, the rulers of Africa adorn their crown. In the center of their crown chakra was the cobra, which is a serpent, a snake. That cobra represented, it symbolized the level of consciousness, not just the fact of consciousness. I'm conscious. It's how conscious I am and how lethal I am. See, a cobra, it shoots. It has like a gun. It'll shoot its venom at you and blind the lion. So if you think that the lion is the king of the jungle, you're lying. You're ruled by pride. You see what I'm saying? You don't know about African ancestral knowledge and why they chose certain animals to represent certain symbols in their deities, which were not God's people, but Neter, divine principle, divine intelligence, our connection with the divine. They didn't have the understanding, the knowledge. This is the reason why in Rome the pillars are white. They tall and white. They don't tell you they were built by who we call our Egyptians right now. But they really are Kemetic people, KMT, meaning black. They really were Ethiopians who were harvested from Africa and taken as laborers. They stole their ideas. They came into Egypt and was like, wow, we can't be outdone by these people. So they conquered the idea and the people and had them come in and build it with slave labor. Rome was so full of slaves they didn't know they were actually slaves. And here we today, 400 years later in the Americas, and we had every opportunity in the world to see our oppression and do something about it. Some of us is waiting to the last minute to get out, due to the grace of God and the ancestors and our lineage that we have to be grateful for and mindful for. And the purpose is never selfishness. Salvation does not come by selfishness, but the desire to aspire and be inspired. You gotta be a messenger to God right now. Prophet. Ability to see the future so that you can benefit and those who follow you can benefit you. Men, we have to set footsteps in order for our sons to follow them. And this is my motivation here. I'm headed to Africa. I'm headed to the Black Acres of Gambia. It only makes sense. Black Swan. The Most High has put it on my heart to serve in many capacities in my life. I served in the U.S. Navy as a teenager into my young adulthood. Then I came out and I wanted to serve my black community. The Brittany Hills, people who know me know about that. And I learned a tremendous amount of, how black people operate or our dysfunction. How we don't operate, we don't cooperate. We've been designed by our oppressors, enslavers, civilizers, colonizers, to be a docile labor force. Like I said, we work for bread or manna, breadcrumbs, something they bake in the factory. They can bake 1 billion more if they want, or 1 trillion, or 1 quadrillion. It doesn't matter. They can bake more and more and more. It doesn't have nothing backing it at all. We the ones actually have the gemstones and gold, the oil, and the fruits, and the land, and the soul. The soul, people. The melanated people of the earth, we are the ones that have the soul. And we were told that we were ones without the soul. But the Bible says, discern the tree by its fruits and not by its bark. In the U.S., we say that dogs bark. We got chihuahuas now, man. People like little chihuahuas and all these little purse dogs. I call, little, I don't want to say anything, I want to tick off dog lovers, but these little chihuahuas around here, man. These are a creature that was formed by man as opposed to created. For those Bible scholars, there's a difference between created, which means to be brought into existence, which is used in Genesis 1:26, 27. 3 times again in Genesis 1:27. But in Genesis 2, created used twice in that chapter. But in reference to Adam, the word formed is used. Formed meaning to shape or configure. Yeah, the Bible is written for scholars, not religion. Formed as opposed to created. Created, brought into existence, like the wild mufflin, who was then formed into the sheep. Like I am a hybrid African, formed from various breeds of people in the Americas. Mostly African. Mentally, our head dress was removed. Just like the wild mufflin. They had horns like the ram. They had a brown, thick coat like a deer in Americas. They stood tall and strong, and they were born to survive on the earth. They were not black or brown because of a false ethnicity, but they were melanated to be able to survive on the earth when it comes to the sun, UV rays, being able to transmit that into energy, solar power. We are solar powered people. And also to be able to camouflage in the wild, so we wouldn't be sitting ducks like a white swan sitting in a pond. But have you ever seen a black swan at night? Have you ever seen a black swan in real life? I have. And when I did, I realized, wow, black swans are real. Then if you look it up, that's the whole saying about black swans. And there's another saying about black swans. It's a black swan theory. And it's an event that occurs, significant event in human history that happens, that causes a magnificent change, like COVID-19. That's a black swan. It hits you, but it makes absolute sense in hindsight. You watch movies like Undercover Brother, and they tell you all of it right there. They were about to burn America. Then they said, hold up. We need to save the man. We need to find this virus. And he goes into the lab. He takes the undercover brother in the lab. And he said, we used to have our own bio lab, own evil bioterrorist lab. Look it up for yourself. They was telling us in the movies. They was telling us in Ozark. They was telling us everywhere. They got a movie called The Silence, I think it is, where these bat-like creatures, and they have to move in silence. Yeah, 2222. You see that? But listen, we have to move in silence now. White people are on code, just like black people are on code. But you have the masses that will not be on code, as Art says. Your bark don't mean nothing no more. It's the fruits of your labor, your deeds. What are you doing? What have you done to prepare yourself for this time? The bride is coming. And you better have your oil and your lantern ready. And Revelations 18, and I'll conclude with this. It's a lot we talked about. We talked about the Tower of Babel. Keep that in mind. Go look that up, Genesis 11. But Revelations 18 is the conclusion. The Bible coming to its conclusion. It's not really concluded until you read the Quran, which is a revolutionary idea. But if you want to unify people, put together the Bible and the Quran, because that's what they were trying to keep separated. These are two different brothers, one from two brothers. Ishmael was the firstborn, though, but he's not recognized. He was almost killed, but he was cast to the south. That's why in the middle of the Suez, you have Ishmaela, the city of Ishmaela. If you Google it, you will see it. Just go to the Suez and zoom in, and in dead center, you'll see a city. The first city you come in when you cross dead center is Ishmaela. Ishmael represents Islam. And the other wing of the bird, Christianity, offspring of Judea. These were made for the Europeans primarily. Took over by the Romans and the Greeks killed the sun and personified them as an individual who looked like them so that they can identify with something that they can deem holy because their skin is damaged by the sun, not given light. So they cannot worship something that kills them. Where the melanated people all over the world, if you look at their towers, which we, because of the Greeks, call pyramids, it's not exactly all. But anyway, like I said, they weren't even pharaohs, they were rulers. They changed everything so they would be confused. They changed the language. But on all these pyramids, they had a sun god, sun deities. They used drums. They dressed similar to the Africans. They had a certain culture that was exported and similar throughout the entire earth. They wrote in stone, they worked in stone, large stones originally. So this means they had a technology that the age that came after them had forgotten and lost. Or a way to make concrete. But anyway, Revelations 18 says, come out of her, my children. Come out of her. Who do you think her is? When you watch a movie and you see the little lady standing with the beacon of light, it looks like the Statue of Liberty, which was a black woman originally. Because the black woman gave the non-melanated people their pigmentation so that they can conquer and thrive in the Sun Belt and the pride lands of African people. So this is the reason why the war, they're blatantly shooting us black men, because they do not need us, really. They can create a new breed of us. They need to get out a certain type of patriarch, alpha, whatever you want to call it, a leader type male, independent thinking type male, one that would be a virus to their objective, which is to keep the people docile and keep the people complicit and a labor force working for breadcrumbs. Now, the bits of fish is knowledge. But they're only going to give you bits of fish. It's like they give you bits of bread so that you keep coming back for it. Not giving you enough to free yourself. If you understand that the knowledge that Eve gave Adam emancipated them, their enlightenment, their eyes were open, like the serpent had said. I told you about the crown chakra. The serpent in the Bible represents wisdom, people. Now, the oppressor did not want us to have knowledge. Understood. I'm a businessman. I understand that if my employee finds out how much I'm making off the contract compared to what I'm paying them, they're going to demand more and more and more until, hey, they're treading on me. So I, as a boss, is going to keep the privileged information. I'm going to have private meetings with the higher uppers, the Most High, the Lords. Lord meaning master. Master meaning I have land and I have someone who is under my wing. See, like Adam, he partitioned the garden and then took the man and put him in the garden and formed him into a labor force and said he did not have purpose before, but now he has. So I gave him life. But Eve, the woman, the serpent, said God knows in the day that you eat of the fruit of knowledge, that you will become like God. Now, they translated that, mistranslated that, because if you look in the KJV, it said you will become like gods. Lowercase G-O-D-S. But in the New King James, they uppercased it. I got videos that explain all of that stuff. But these are the details. Who's hiding in the details? The serpent said your eyes will be open, for God knows that you will become like God, knowing good and evil. You will not die in that day. Remember, they were supposed to die in that day. They would die. Adam lived 937 years, was it? So, when their eyes were open, they sewed together fig leaves to make themselves coverings, right? That fig leaf is very, very, very important. If you look up the relationship between the fig and the fig wasp and how the males are born, blind, without the antennas, and flightless, and their only job is to dig away out of Babylon for the woman, the female. The female sits inside there and gathers up pollen in her breast, gold pollen in her breast, right? And they procreate with each other, right? And which is questionable, right? And then the females, once there's an exit out, they fly out. Now the females can't tell a capra fig from a regular female fig, right? If she enters the male fig, the male's internals, insides, are formed perfectly for her. So she is able to squeeze them up the style, I believe it's called, into the organ, and she's able to lay her eggs. So her lineage is able to reproduce. Success. If she goes into a female, the style is too long, so she gets trapped and she loses her antennas and her wings as she enters. So this is a one-way trap called the stylus. She's unsuccessful in breeding her young, but the pollen that was stored in her breast is absorbed into the flower. The inverted flower we call the fruit, and then pollinates the next generation of figs. So there's a lot of metaphors. So when Christ cursed this fig tree, he wanted you to have this stuff in mind. And also in the conclusion in Revelations 22, verses 2, when he said the leaves of the tree are for the healings of the nations, so that there'll be no more curse. Because the whole Bible is a spell on our people. And this is what the Quran is saying. But they keep the two separated. The two brothers